Dear students, thank you for tuning in. This lesson is for English 810 for technical and vocational schools. It is Unit 7, Lesson 5, Past and Real Conditional. But before you do the lesson, you should have the following. Number 1, Project Success 3, Student's Book. Number 2, a notebook or a piece of paper. Number 3, a pen or a pencil. Number 4, a dictionary. Now, lesson objectives. By the end of the lesson, you'll be able to use past and real conditional in writing sentences. So, let me ask you the question. What is the past and real conditional? Let me explain that by showing you an example. And you have a gap, enough, money, comma, and a gap, and full stop. And you have a gap in here. So, let me introduce the past and real conditional. I say, if I had saved enough money, comma, I would have traveled, full stop. Let me show you another one. Adil, gap, in the park, gap, he, gap, time, full stop. Let me introduce past and real conditional. Adil would have played in the park if he had had time, full stop. A gap, Sami, a gap, absent, comma, he, gap, full stop. Past and real conditional. If Sami hadn't been absent, comma, he would have studied. So, the past and real conditional, if, had saved, would have traveled, would have played, if, had, if, hadn't been, would have studied, is used to talk about what you would have done in an unreal situation. So, would have done, like Adil would have played, or I would have traveled, or he would have studied. In an unreal situation, like if I had saved enough money, or if he had had time, or Sami hadn't been absent. All of these situations are unreal. So, let me explain it a bit further. The past and real conditional. Let me pull up the timeline where I have the present, the past, and the future. It's used to talk about what you have done in an unreal situation in the past. So, the unreal situation is here, where you cannot, it is impossible for anybody to change the past. So, how to structure the past and real conditional? You have two clauses. The first one is the if clause. The second one is the main clause. And this is how you construct the sentence. You start with if, plus a subject, plus past perfect, and then a comma. Then the other clause, subject plus modal plus have plus past participle, and then a full stop. Let me show you with examples. If you, as a subject, had exercised, past perfect, comma. Subject, you, modal, would, and have is the same. Past participle, been, and fit is the complement of that clause. So you say, if you had exercised, comma, you would have been fit, full stop. Second example, if she had called, past perfect, comma, he would have answered, full stop. A third one, if it had rained, past perfect, comma, we would have played in the rain, full stop. We would have is would have, and played is the past participle of play, and the rain is the complement of that clause. So let's jump to task number 1. Fill in the gaps in the following, and you have a mark of 3. Number 1, if you gap a lot, comma, you would have passed the test. You have to use the verb between the parentheses. You have 5 seconds. Let's check the answer now. The answer is had studied. If you had studied a lot, you would have passed the test. Now, give yourself a mark. Let's jump to number 2. If it had rained a lot, comma, the ground, gap, wet, full stop. You have to use be between the parentheses. 5 seconds. Now let's check the answer. The answer is would have been. If it had rained a lot, comma, the ground would have been wet, full stop. A third one. If he, gap, late, comma, he would have woken up early, full stop. You have to use sleep. 5 seconds. Now let's check the model answer. Hadn't slept. If he hadn't slept late, he would have woken up early. I changed this to negative because the meaning requires it. Now give yourself a mark of 3 and let's carry on. Now, past and conditional. This time I'm going to switch. I'm going to start with the main clause and then the if clause. So how to structure the sentence? I start with the subject with a capital first letter, then a modal, plus have, plus past participle without a comma. Then F with a lowercase I, plus a subject, plus past perfect, then a full stop. Let me show you with example. You, as you see, it is capital. You would have been fit without comma. No comma in here. If you had exercised, full stop. The I is in lowercase. He would have answered, you see, have in here does not change. You cannot say has because the modal requires an infinitive pair, means without to. He would have answered if she had called, full stop. We would have played in the rain, no comma, if it had rained, full stop. So what has changed? As I said, the Y, the he, the W became uppercase, and I became lowercase and without the commas. So let's jump to task number 2. Circle the correct verb forms, and you have a mark of 3. The first one, if Maryam had or would have had a lot of money, comma, she had bought or would have bought a beach house. You have 5 seconds. Let's check the answer. The answer for the first clause is if Maryam had a lot of money, she would have bought a beach house. Give yourself a mark of 3. Number 2, if she hasn't had to or hadn't had to work, she would have take or would have taken a long vacation. 5 seconds. Let's check the model answer. If she hadn't had to work, she would have taken a long vacation. Give yourself a mark. Third one, Sami would has gone or would have gone fishing every day if he had rented or would rent a boat. 5 seconds. Let's check the answer now. For the first one, Sami would have gone fishing every day if he had rented a boat. Now give yourself a mark of 3 and let's carry on. Past and real conditional forming questions. So how to form a question? You need what we call the WH question word plus main clause and then the if clause, and you cannot switch these. So we start with the WH question word plus a modal plus a subject plus have plus past participle. Then if a subject, past perfect plus complement, and then a question mark. Let me show you. You see, WH question word what, modal, would, subject, you, have stays the same. Past participle, done, if, subject, you, past perfect, had won, complement, the race, and the question mark. This is a second example. Where would Amna have gone if she had had a car? In had, the first one is for the past, the second one is the perfect, past perfect. Who would they have called if they had been here? Question mark. Now let's jump to task number 3. Fill in the gaps in the following, and you have a mark of 3. The first one, where, gap, if you had had a car, question mark, you have to use you as a subject and go as a verb. You have 5 seconds. Let's check the answer. The answer is, would you have gone? Where would you have gone if you had had a car? Question mark. If you're correct, give yourself a mark. Number 2, how long, gap, if she had been here? Question mark. You have to use she as a subject, stay as a verb. You have 5 seconds. Let's check the answers. The answer is, would she have stayed? How long would she have stayed if she had been here? Question mark. The third one, what, gap, if we had felt the same? Question mark. You have we and then make. You have 5 seconds. Let's check the answer. The answer is, what we would have made if we had felt the same? Question mark. Now give yourself a mark of 3 and let's carry on. So forming the past participle. You see, past participle is very important in forming the past perfect. So verb types, we have 2 categories. The first one is regular verbs, and the rule is simple. You have verb plus ed. For example, play, you just add ed to it and it becomes in the past participle. Visit becomes visited. Call becomes called. And you have another category, which is irregular verbs, where there is no rule to it. So you say be, the past participle of be is been. You see, the whole verb changes. Break, broken. Fall, fallen. Bring, brought. Cost stays the same. Now, this means something. It means that you have to memorize a full list of irregular verbs. If you open a dictionary or if you go online, you will find this table. You will find a base form, present simple, past simple, past participle, and present participle. As example, do in the base form. Present form, do and does. Past simple, did. Past participle, done. The present participle, doing. Just like that, we have write, writes, wrote, written, writing. A third example, pay, pays, paid, paid, paying. Now we're going to focus on the past participle. Now let's jump to task number 4. So, in your notebooks, answer the following. Question A. Combine the two sentences into one using the past and real conditional, like the example below. And you have a mark of 6. Number 1. I didn't have enough money. This is the first sentence. I didn't buy the computer. Second sentence. Now, your task is to combine the first one to the second one using the past and real conditional, like the model answer. If I had enough money, comma, I would have bought the computer. So, how did I come up with that? I have didn't have to worry about, didn't buy to worry about. So, I added if and I made this had enough money instead of didn't have. Then I added the comma instead of the full stop. And didn't buy, I said would have bought. So it should be simple. Now you can do number 2. You didn't work overtime, full stop. You didn't finish the project. Number 3. We didn't leave the house early enough. We were late for the concert. Number 4. He lost his job. He moved to the other city. Now, you have 3 minutes to answer this. Now, let's go over the model answer. So, for question A, the first one, if you had worked overtime, comma, you would have finished the project. Second one, if we had left the house early enough, comma, we wouldn't have been late for the concert. 3, if he hadn't lost his job, comma, he wouldn't have moved to another city. Now give yourself a mark and let's carry on. Task number 5. In your notebooks, answer the following. Question B. Write 4 sentences in past and real conditional using the following. And you have a mark of 8. First one. I drive fast, have an accident. Your task is to combine all of these words into one past and real conditional sentence. Second one. The story, be interesting, buy it. 3. He find a lost wallet, search for its owner. 4. What we do win the match. Now you have 3 minutes to answer this question. Now, let's jump to the model answer. But before we do that, let's use the self-correcting tools. After you have finished, make sure you have in all of your sentences the following. Number 1, a capitalized first letter. Number 2, a full stop. Number 3, no spelling mistakes by checking every word using a dictionary. Number 4, no grammatical errors by reviewing the lesson. So let's go over the model answer. 1, if I hadn't driven fast, comma, I wouldn't have had an accident. Number 2, if the story had been interesting, comma, I would have bought it. If he had found a lost wallet, comma, he would have searched for its owner, full stop. What would we have done if we had won the match, question mark? Give yourself a mark and let's carry on. Well done. Give yourself a pat on the back for finishing the lesson, plus 2 marks, and calculate your final mark. Evaluating lesson objectives. Now, you are able to use past and real conditional writing sentences, and you have a mark of 25. If you have finished the lesson with 100% correct answers, that means 25 marks, then you can proceed to the next lesson. If you have 75% correct answers and above, that means 90 marks and more, you can go over the part you failed in and redo it. If you have 75% or lower, that means 90 marks and below, then redo the whole lesson. As always, practice makes perfect. Good luck and thank you for your attention.